You can do this at least 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I'll find my way out.
Clinton City Council will please come to order. We'll begin tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gaspar.
Here.
Seeley.
Here.
McGraw.
Here.
Allison.
Here.
O'Neill.
Here.
Connell.
Here.
Thank you. Before I move to Councilmember Allison and the reading of the minute, I was going to introduce the new city administrator to everyone and to everyone at home. It's Matt Brook. He's seated next to me. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you.
Turn your mic off, yeah.
Nothing wrong. He wants to get this meeting over before 10 o'clock. You heard about my 10 o'clock rule. So we will move on to Councilmember Allison.
I move to dispense with the reading of the regular city council meeting and committee of the whole minutes of December 20th, 2016, and they be approved as published on December 30th, 2016.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Connell.
Yes.
Gaspar.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Thank you. For the first time in a long time, we have no public hearings tonight, so we'll move immediately into audience comment, which we do have one person that wishes to address the council, which is Margot Hanson, who wants to talk to us about the Emerald Ash Borer.
My name is Margot Hanson, Bickelhop Arboretum, Clinton Trees Forever, and I would like the council to please consider the 2016 Urban Forest Plan Management Plan that Dr. Reisner from Augustana College worked on last year. In this report, quickly, the city was divided into 7 different tree districts. The ideal tree canopy is 20 to 35%. And we had 3 of those districts under 10%. The tree inventory indicated a very old tree population, and as many of you know, we need all ages, young, teenagers, mid-age, and all the different categories of tree age. The report also indicated the ash tree inventory in Clinton, and there was a big concern concerning the emerald ash borer, which is here. And to just review quickly for you, the emerald ash borer in the next 10 to 15 years will kill all of the ash trees, not only in our area, but eventually in the entire United States. And that will basically mean 1 in 4 trees will die from emerald ash borer in the whole, 1 in 4 trees in the whole city will die. And that's just a guesstimate. Emerald ash borer has probably been here 3 years already, so we're already 3 years into that 10 to 15 year period, and the population will continue to grow, and it's basically a bell curve. So it starts really slow, and it continually will kill more and more trees as we get to the top of that bell curve. The city needs to be prepared, and you need to consider this when you work on the budget. The communities out east who have already gone through 10 and 15 years, the communities that did not address emerald ash borer, it ended up costing them maybe twice as much as it would have if they would have addressed it as the condition reared its ugly head. I would encourage you to take information from this study very seriously, and the budget that you're working on for the next year and the following years, that you seriously consider it. Take a very aggressive look at it. In addition to that, we need to continue to educate the public. We need to remove old and compromised trees and also infected trees, and we do need to do this very aggressively. We also need to start planting trees to replace this horrible loss we're going to encounter. So please consider it when you're working on the budget for next year and probably the next 4 to 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Margot. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to address the council tonight? Hearing none, we will move on to our consent agenda. Councilmember Allison.
Your Honor, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented on the attachment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Go ahead.
Councilman-
I was
like to pull one.
Number 1. Anything else?
13.
15,
13.
13. Anybody else?
I have one, Your Honor.
Okay.
Number 11, please.
11. Anything else? Could we have a roll call vote on the balance of the consent agenda, please?
Councilmember Connell,
Yes.
Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move on to motions, resolutions, and ordinances. Councilmember O'Neill.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move the council consider an ordinance for the first time.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
Thank you.
An ordinance amending Chapter 97, street excavations and driveway curb cuts of the Code of Ordinances for the city of Clinton, Iowa.
Thank you. Councilmember Seeley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move, I have a, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Resolution as well.
I have a resolution for the first
No, you have a resolution fixing the date.
Oh,
Yeah, we're not doing it.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
good,
this
good.
This is simple.
All right, I have a resolution fixing a date for a meeting on the authorization of a loan agreement for the issuance of not to exceed $4,360,000 general obligation capital loan notes of the city of Clinton, state of Iowa, for essential corporate purposes and providing the publication notice thereof. I move this resolution be adopted as presented.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second.
Yeah, good.
We're all a little rusty. It's been a few
Oh,
weeks.
it
since
has
we've
been
had
a while. I was like, wait, what am I
Wow.
doing? Ordinance, resolution? All right.
Do we have any discussion, any questions? Hearing none, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Allison.
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, that concludes our motions, resolutions, and ordinances for tonight, so we'll move to unfinished business. The first item is item number 1. Councilmember McGraw, I'm assuming you need to abstain from?
Yes,
So
please.
would someone like to submit that for approval then, please?
I will, Your Honor.
Do you have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Could we have roll call then, please?
Councilmember Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw,
Abstain.
Allison,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell.
Abstain.
Thank you. Dick, I thought we were gonna, are we gonna work on something so we can, for number 1?
sorry, what?
Last meeting, we were gonna try, because we seem to have this happen with the actual payments, a lot of having to pull it just to abstain on it. Is there, could we make that one just be part of the general agenda?
Yes, we can.
That way then whoever wants to vote on it could just,
Abstain.
come up with a wording to just put it in our regular agenda then.
Mhm.
Might be simpler than having to constantly.
I think so, and it would be a little more consistent than having councilmen be required to abstain. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Number 13, Councilmember O'Neill.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't, can we just kind of, this resolution, can we get Jason to give us a, kind of a view on it?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, this is just, I think it's the Project J 2017. Is that what you're asking about?
Yes.
That is constructing ADA compliant curb ramps on 3rd Street and 4th Street. You know what that is, when the sidewalk, where the sidewalk meets the road.
Those red
Those are
ramps.
not properly constructed. Those were probably 40 years old. So those will be all constructed this year between 6th Avenue South and 7th Avenue North on 3rd Street and 4th Street.
So this is a redo of ramps that are already in there?
No, I wouldn't say that exactly. We resurfaced those roads a couple years ago, but we didn't redo any of the ramps. We didn't have the money at the time, and we budgeted it to be paid. This particular project is paid out of 2 fiscal years out of the road use tax fund. The current year, we budgeted $125,000, and then any amount exceeding that, which we are including in the upcoming budget for next fiscal year. And that's, as I said, to construct curb ramps on 3rd Street and 4th Street that we have to do per our federal requirements to make our rights of way accessible, street crossings accessible.
Okay, thank you.
All right?
Jason, before you leave, would you click the mouse on that postpone so that this doesn't reboot on us? Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve?
Yes, I'll move this resolution be adopted as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any other questions or discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
And then our last item is number 11, Councilmember Seeley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to verify, I wasn't sure who's working on this. They're not here.
It's tree and stump removal?
Yeah,
Somebody-
which one of the staff members, but I wanted to see if we were notifying the residents in any manner that the tree was gonna be removed or the multiple trees. I think that's,
I spoke with Creighton, and that's the plan to do, because it's a follow-up to what you just talked about, Margot, on the ash trees, and that is the plan to go out and let them know before they remove it.
okay, okay. And then do we have any plans for replacements of these, or are they just getting?
Yeah, there is plans, but what Creighton said, it can't go in the same spot. It has to be adjusted to the left or right of it because of the stump. And I think they're going down a certain 6 inches or 8 inches down to remove the stump, but the stump will still be there. So it has to go to left or right.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to be sure we were notifying everybody, so I'll move this resolution be adopted as presented.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes our unfinished business for tonight. Councilmember Allison.
Your Honor, I move to adjourn to 7 PM, January 24th, 2017.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Connell?
Yes.
Gassman? Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Thank you. We are adjourned, but we'll move immediately into the Clinton City Council Committee of the Whole for January 10th. And we'll begin with roll call whenever Pat is ready.
Councilmember Gassman?
Here.
Seeley?
Here.
McGraw?
Here.
Allison?
Here.
O'Neill?
Here.
Connell?
Here.
Thank you. Our first item tonight is the Rail Park Site Certification. Something that we've been working for several years, and Mike Kirchhoff and Janelle Kraling from the CRDC are going to give us that update.
Good evening, members of the council. We're going to see just how long this Godfather voice will hold out this evening. I'm actually not going to talk for very long. This is Janelle's project, and she's going to tell you about
That
it.
sounds worse than the other day when I talked to you.
Yeah, I've been talking more today. The more I talk, the quieter it gets. But we are excited to come before you tonight to tell you about the site certification of the rail park, which, as many of you know, predates both Janelle and me in these roles. This is at least a 4-year-long project, if not longer. Councilman O'Neill certainly knows how long it's been, having worked at the CRDC for a period of time. But I wanted to take just a couple of minutes before Janelle starts and talk with you about something that made the media just recently, and it does relate to rail park site certification. While we're excited about this and we do believe it'll enhance our marketability, it is not a panacea to winning every project. And to that point, I wanted to discuss a project that we've been carrying on our project list called Project Prairie. And Project Prairie is more commonly known in the media in the last week or so by the name Sterilite. This project is a $200 million project, roughly 2 million square feet under roof, with at least 500 employees. And so within the last week, you saw an announcement that this project had announced that it was going to go to Davenport. And while we're pleased that it located in our region, we're disappointed that it did not choose to locate in Clinton. I can tell you that there were 3 finalist sites. 1 was Clinton, 2 was Davenport, and the 3rd was a community in Missouri. You might wonder, with this great site certification, how come we didn't land this project instead of Davenport? Well, you should know that the site in Davenport, the Eastern Iowa Industrial Center, was certified before our site was certified, so it already is a certified site. When I talked with the broker and when I talked with Debbie Durham at the Iowa Economic Development Authority, they gave me several reasons for why that site was chosen as opposed to the rail park. Probably the most predominant reason is immediate on and off access to Interstate 80. This particular client, their customers come, pick up their products, and then go back to their places of business. And so they wanted easy visibility, easy on-off access for their customers to come and pick up their product. The second reason has to do with the slope of the site. If you've driven around the rail park, you know that the land up closer to Highway 30 is a little bit higher than, I'm speaking kindly, is a bit higher than the land down towards the railroad. There's in fact between a 15 and 20-foot rise in that area, and that requires a fair amount of dirt work to make a build-ready pad. More importantly, though, rail can only increase a certain percentage every linear foot. And so, a lot of dirt work to bring that land down, 200 acres worth of land down, to be at a level sufficient to accommodate the rail for the client. And so those are two of the primary factors. There are other factors as well, but I thought you might be interested to know what some of the basis was, because it's been in the media. I'm sure some of you have seen it, maybe most of you have seen it. And I wanted to just address that in this public forum before we spoke, because I'm sure you were curious about it. I'd be happy to take any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to let Janelle talk with you about the site certification project. Great. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor, Council, thank you so much for having us today. We are excited to tell you about our successful site certification, so we'll jump right in. There we go, a little history. The rail park, Lincoln Way Industrial Rail and Air Park here in Clinton, started in 2002, 2003, when the CRDC purchased 230 acres. In 2008, the City of Clinton became our partner in the park and purchased 300 acres. 2010 was when the rail spur was beginning construction. And then finally, how it links to today, in 2013, site certification process began. So, as you know, there are 3 companies that actually live and work in the rail park. The Clinton County Biodiesel was located there in 2005, and then Rail One and Nevada Rail Materials located in 2013. So, for those who aren't familiar, we're talking about the Iowa Economic Development Authority site certification program. So this is a 3-step program, 3-step process, and its real purpose is to make sure that our site is market ready and ready for any development that comes our way. So McCallum Sweeney Consultants was the company retained by the IEDA to perform this program. They're a world-renowned site site selection firm, and they were the ones going through the pages and pages of the documents that we have supplied to them to make sure that everything is accurate and ready to go. So this is a basic list of all the things that we have done in the rail park to make sure that we know what's going on. Did bring along a copy of the certification. It is 800 pages of information about the site. So the idea behind site certification is if there is a major issue, whether it be wetlands or endangered animals or things that could pose a problem to a company who wants to locate there, this process brings out those issues in advance. So it gives you an opportunity to address those before you have someone interested and find out later that there's an issue. So luckily and thankfully there were no major hurdles. So these are all the things that are in these binders, and they're open for anyone who would like to read them.
We're going to have a test next week on that 800 pages.
It's a lot of fun. So I am happy to announce that in December 19th, a group of us went to the State House and had a press conference with the governor in which he announced that the Lincoln Way Rail Park has officially become a certified site in the state of Iowa. So that was very exciting. And then the big question of so what? So we've done all this work. What does it actually mean? First is we do have a shovel-ready site. We have eliminated the risk for companies who are interested in the rail park. In fact, we've actually shared the studies and some of the maps with companies already. Some of the preliminary information has been very helpful for them so we can stay in the race. On a state level, we have increased visibility and marketing from the IEDA folks. There are only 16 certified sites in the state of Iowa, and they vary from size to location, utilities and transportation, they're all a little different. So it's very possible that we could see increased projects looking at our park. There are projects that only want certified sites. They understand what that means, and they know that that's going to be their best option for being successful in finding a place. So that's really the important parts of why we're doing this and what to expect coming up. And finally, we wanted to say thank you to the city. You've been our great partners throughout this process, financial support, but also staff time in order to obtain and create all of this lovely information. So we wanted to thank you for helping us to complete this project, and we know we'll be good partners moving forward.
Thank you.
So,
Any questions of Janelle? Ed?
I know you probably talked about this in staff, but just for us that,
Yep.
do you have plans to go back like the last 3 to 5 years of companies that gave us a pass because they weren't certified and go back and revisit them, or is that gonna be done automatically through some other source?
You know, in the 3 years that I've been here, I don't know of a project that specifically said, we don't want you because you're not certified. So I don't think that that's
It's not an issue.
necessarily a factor, but it is really becoming something that's expected from large parks like this. This is a national trend that people and companies and regions in the country are really starting to take hold, and it's become an expectation that this type of work is done.
Councilmember O'Neill, I would say too. that-
You want to move the mic
Sure.
up? You need a
You
little
think
help.
so?
The mic is
Well, but
Not such a deal I have for you. I would say too that in all likelihood, anybody who was seeking only a certified site
No.
passed us over before they ever talked to us because they wouldn't have seen us in the search.
Okay. Thank you.
I was gonna, well, go ahead.
I know it's not even been a month, but have you seen any uptick in just this announcement since the State House and maybe current projects or things that are, real new and?
I would say the holidays are a very slow time in economic development to begin with. So since this announcement, we've had one new project, and it was, I don't believe, because of certification, but we will keep track of those as we move forward and see what the ratio is moving forward. So.
I might add too, Councilmember Connell, that the state of Iowa directs a portion of their marketing program strictly at promoting certified sites. We haven't had a long enough period of time since the announcement to really see that bounce. So I would say, maybe a year from now would be a good time to say, what bounce did you see? What sites what prospects have you had the opportunity to present to that maybe other parts of the state didn't?
I heard on the TV all of the perks that they got by going to Davenport. I mean, there was all kinds of things they offered them. I don't know that Clinton could have ever given them all those things. Did that play into this at all?
Well, a lot is made of incentives as we, think about site selection. But at the end of the day, no amount of incentives will ever make a bad deal good, right? But the one thing that did kind of surprise me, along the lines of what you're saying, because I watched the newscast as well, I was struck by that multi-million-dollar forgivable loan. That did kind of get my attention. So.
Well, one thing that came, I had my forum on Saturday, and several people mentioned they were, I won't say pleasantly, so they were surprised that they had to throw in a $1.6 million rail spur. We're sitting here with a $20 million rail park with 3 Class 1 railroads, and that's just a spur to run to the CP, and it just, I don't know if that was a deal breaker or not, but it sure seemed like, we got 4 lanes of Highway 30 on either side. I know it's segmented and down to 2 and then back to 4 again, but the idea that they had to build a spur, and there's one right here already built, it was kind of frustrating to them. They didn't understand why the spur was part of the deal when we have everything else pretty much up here. And of course, it was a big package, but they haven't asked yet either. So.
Yeah, I can tell you that if they had located here in Clinton, we would have worked with the Iowa Department of Transportation to get a RISE grant that would have probably completely paved the gravel road to the east, 54th Street, and then paved in a street at some ratio,
22nd.
probably 50-50, part of it probably 80-20, another part of it, and then paved in an entrance road to the site for the client as well, at probably 80-20% share. But then on top of that, and I think a lot of people confuse terms from a rail perspective. There's a spur, which is a turn off of the railroad, and then there's a siding, right? And so while we have the spur going into the park, we would have had to still build rail up to the site where the client would have been. Just for your information, the site that we showed them was, if you're familiar with the 72-acre piece of property that we have that goes right on up to just across the road from the airport entrance. It was that 72 acres, then all the way over to the Caesar equipment corner. That's the 200-acre site that we were showing them. And so we, because it was a large plastics facility, the fire protection needs exceeded the water capacity of the water solution that we have out at the park. And it would have resulted in a need to extend a 16-inch water line from the casino out to the rail park, which is something the CRDC offered to the client to pay for. That was a $2 million installation cost that the CRDC was going to take on from the sale of proceeds of the sale of our part of the land. But at the end of the day, anytime you have to put something like that into a proposal when the other site already has it, puts you at a distinct disadvantage because every one of those items represents an element of risk in the project because of timing, right? Now, I will say with regards to Interstate 80, and there are, honestly, Councilmember O'Neill, there are mixed opinions about this. I will tell you what my opinion is. I believe if Highway 30 was 4 lanes across Iowa and 4 lanes to Sterling Rock Falls, I think we would have been more competitive in this case. I can't tell you it would have landed the project, but what I can tell you is that then they wouldn't have had to divert down to I-80 to go east-west, right, across the state of Iowa. 29 miles is the 19 miles is the distance down to Interstate 80, and every mile is that much more time for staff and that much more wear and tear on trucks and that much more fuel spent. And so your question becomes, if all things are equal in that you can drive all the way across Iowa on 2 parallel routes, does the route really matter all that much? And I would say no, it doesn't. And that's why I think we've got to continue to push really, really hard to upgrade US 30 to 4 lanes across the state of Iowa and to finish that short stretch in Illinois to Sterling Rock Falls. And it is something we take very seriously. In fact, it's one of our talking points for Des Moines Day, which is coming up here in a couple of weeks. And so we look forward to putting that issue in front of the elected officials. I can tell you within 2 weeks, I also have a conference call with the interim director of the Iowa Department of Transportation, and we're going to have this conversation as well. So frankly, it gives us something current and relevant to talk about regarding Highway 30 and why we need 4 lanes. So it's not property tax base increase, but it does give us leverage, I think, as we continue this discussion and pushing for 4-lane Highway 30. Yes, ma'am.
I was hoping that because we have some plastic manufacturers in the area that we would be in a higher point with the company than Davenport.
I agree.
Was that a compatible plastic, or compatible?
Oh, you're referring to Lyondell.
Yep.
Specifically. I can tell you that LyondellBasell does make the kind of plastic they use, but they do not make that kind of plastic here. So irregardless of being close to or not to the local plant, they just still had to ship up the plastic pellets of the type they use for their product from the Gulf.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, and we were initially very excited about that when Janelle and I met with the client. We said, oh, great, we got a plastics plant right next door and you can use their product. And they said, well, do they make this such kind of plastic? And we said, no. So, yes, but not here. One of the things I was really pleased about with this particular client on the front end was when we met with them at the airport, and a number of our project meetings have been at the airport with prospects lately because they have a very nice conference room. The airport shows very well. Thank you to the council members for investing in the airport. It really is a showpiece for the city. And I have to tell you, when we market with the rail park, one of the things we're talking about is, look, if you're from out of state and you're thinking about putting an investment in Clinton, Iowa, and you've got a corporate plane, you can fly in here, hop in the car that they have there for your use, and in 5 minutes you're on site. You're at your plant, seeing what's going on at your plant. And we characterize it as an executive airport, and we think it's a tremendous amenity for marketing the rail park. All that being said, when we met with them at the airport, we shared with them our new business case study for the chemicals segment, which they were very impressed with. Janelle shared with them labor data that was put together for us just this last year in partnership with Quad Cities First, and they liked that a lot as well. When I talked with the broker myself, who was a Binswanger broker out of Chicago, he said, you know what, your labor costs weren't that different. He said yours were a little bit cheaper than Davenport's. He said, and this is important, I think. This is a positive in my opinion. He said, but we were convinced that we could draw the necessary labor, 500 jobs now, we could draw the necessary labor at either location we chose, whether it was Davenport or whether it was Clinton. I take that as a very positive sign for Clinton. Again, you know, that doesn't solve the Interstate 80 issue. It doesn't solve the slope issue, you know, or maybe, you know, the water issue. But I took that as a very positive sign. The other thing you should know is 75% of these jobs fall in the $11 to $14 an hour range. And that actually is below our county average wage. 75% of 500, okay? The balance, we're up around $18 an hour. And so, you know, this isn't quite the level of pay that I think you all are seeking. I think you'd like to see us build on that county average wage. I'm not saying that this wouldn't have been a worthwhile project to have. It absolutely would have been a worthwhile project to have. But I hope that I can come before you next time and say, hey, we've got a great project, and oh, by the way, it exceeds our county average wage, which certainly helps us with getting state incentives. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions. But please, Janelle did all the work, the lion's share of the work on this project for site certification. Without her hard work in the last 3 years, we wouldn't have a certified site. So next time you see her and have an opportunity to talk with her, please let her know how much we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you,
you
Janelle.
very much.
Thank you, Janelle.
Just a couple comments that I wanted to make. Mike, I agree with you, Highway 30, but we also need to pursue the Illinois side. We need to help Fulton and work as that little stretch of miles over there is just as important as getting the link to Cedar Rapids finished. So, you know, there again, I think we're missing out on the link to Chicago without 30 being completed there. And you touched on the RISE grant. One of the benefits that we actually get now because we're a certified site is RISE grants, they only allow one road into industrial sites. Because we're site certified, we now can have multiple roads that they will approve, which is also good. It also moves us up the pecking order as far as priority in getting grants. So the fact that if we can land a project, we can put a road in where we want to. We can get South 54th Street probably completed. So we've got some other benefits that normally we wouldn't have qualified if we would not have been site certified. So it's got a lot of benefits that yet we have not even begin to see. And you were missing one picture. The one that when they started when the reporters out there that acted as if they had never heard of what a site certified place was, and does it really mean anything, that those couple of reporters that were sitting in the front row, and they turned, well, we'll let the mayor answer it. So out of all the, I'm the one that goes up, there's a picture of me actually addressing this crowd, and I had to explain about broadband and the water and what, some of the issues that we had, and why it was important to be able to have it certified, because we dealt with Rail One, and that was a very long, multiple day negotiation, because we were literally taking item by item when we're trying to do a deal, because none of these were done, and so we're kind of like knocking them off as they go. So I'm looking forward to the next project of just moving right along. So, but thank you very much for all your hard work.
So, just clarification, when you were talking about the RISE grant, putting the road in, so the certification actually will turn into a tax savings if we could do the road with a RISE grant instead of borrowing for it?
I'll give you a scenario as a hypothetical. If we would have landed this project, we would have been eligible, because the conversation had already taken place with DOT, that on a 50-50, we could have gotten South 54th Street completed at 50-50, and depending upon how the wages worked out, it would have been either a 50-50 or 60-40 or an 80-20 of the road going into the park. So it could have been a real win-win for us as far as getting a road that we have on our long-term list that needs to be paved. So yeah, it would have qualified.
Thank you.
Any other questions about site certification before we move on? Okay. Once again, thank you very much. Okay, as you can tell from the council here, we do have a vacancy. Council Member Detterman, who's now sitting in the audience, he's back to his old seat that he had for many, many years, has moved on to become a supervisor. And so now it's up to the council to decide how to fill his seat. You basically have two options. And it's basically the same thing that we had last year when Councilmember Wilkie left us. The council can vote to hold a special election, or the council can move to fill the seat by appointment. So I guess I'm gonna ask, before we get too far into the appointment process, is there anyone here that wants to make a motion to hold a special election to fill this seat? Okay, so let's talk about the appointment process. In your packet, you saw that we have a special council meeting that is scheduled to take place right after this committee of the whole. And on that, there is a resolution setting a public hearing, which is required under our home rule charter for audience comment. So that's going to take place at 3 o'clock on Monday before our budget meeting. So any citizens that want to come forward and make any comments as far as filling the vacancy. Now, the 16th. Monday the 16th. It's on the resolution that's in your packet. Now, as far as the appointment, my suggestion is that we can do the same thing that we did with Councilmember, when Wilkie left, that the council can have a motion to accept applications, which in this case I would recommend they go till January 19th at 4:30, which allows Pat to be able to put them in the packet for the next council meeting. And at the next council meeting, we can have an interview process, and there is an option then if the council would so decide to appoint someone from that group, they can do so. We do have to fill this seat within 40 days if we don't do the election process. But I will remind everyone, the citizens can still petition for an election too.
So that'd be the February 11th, we're mandated to have it filled.
Right, well, yeah, potentially we could have it filled at the next council
Right,
meeting.
that's the last.
But we have a drop dead date that it has to be filled by, yes.
Mayor, could you explain when this position then will be up?
This position will end on 12/31 of 17. It is actually only for basically 11 months and a week or two, depending upon when we appoint, because the seat actually was up for election starting in November. So they would have to run for election if they wanted to keep the seat for re-election in November of this year.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there any objection to going forward with taking applications until a week from Thursday on the 19th, and then putting it on the next council agenda? Councilmember Cowell?
Have we approved, I think, didn't we just approve the application for the
Yes, we
final
did.
time
Yes, it's all approved, it's ready to go.
previously? Okay.
Where can they pick them up?
City clerk's office,
Okay.
and
They
we
can
do
be
have an
emailed.
electronic format, it can be
Okay.
mailed out to someone.
Will that
if
be
they
put
want.
on the city's website,
Yeah, it-
hopefully?
Yes.
It can't go on until we actually approve that we're gonna do this process.
Right.
And they gotta be back on the 19th
By
at
at
4:30.
4:30, because that'll be the cutoff date.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Your Honor, what will be the process if we'll interview them after those applications, and let's say we get 6 people that apply? If there's no agreeance for a particular person, then what happens?
Well, then it'll be up to the council to discuss that to what they wanna do.
Okay.
You know, if they wanna go and interview, or it's like any interview, you could thin it down to a smaller group.
I didn't know if we were gonna have a process, cause I have a feeling we're gonna have quite a few applicants.
Well, let's deal with that when we see how many applicants we have.
That'd be a
Okay.
nice problem to have.
You know,
That is a good problem to have,
well,
exactly.
it is a good problem to have.
Yeah.
But, you know, last time we had quite a few applicants, and then when it actually came to the fact that we were gonna
Yep.
do, we had quite a few of them drop out and withdraw.
Yep.
So, let's wait till we see, because Yeah, if we have a dozen applicants, then we have to come up with maybe a different process of how we're gonna do the interviewing, so.
Okay. I think we should try to get that process somewhat defined, because we'll be putting ourselves up against a deadline, whatever
Well-
that 40 days is.
Well, the process that we used the last time, which you were
Yep.
part of, was that I asked each council member to submit 2 questions. And we actually sat them all down, similar to what the chamber does for a forum, and we asked the questions, and then afterwards, there's a place, we have an opportunity for an individual to, council member it's open to make a motion to, select somebody. So I think my plan is to do it exactly the same way. I thought that worked, it worked, I think we only had 3 or 4, I don't remember now.
We might have had 4 that went to 3.
It was 3. Or the 4, 3, yeah.
But I think we had 6 or 8
It worked
applicants.
out pretty good.
Yeah.
3 of us were interviewed, and then 4 were actually in the election. ballot,
But we actually started out, we were supposed to, I think we had 6 or 7 that actually turned in applications or wanted to be part, and some of them dropped out,
Right.
so. That is the current plan of attack,
That's what I
so
was wondering.
if no one has any objection with that, we'll move forward with that action item. Pat, does that need any formal action?
You don't need, no, I don't think so.
I didn't think so either, because we do have on the, special council to set the public hearing for next Monday, that's coming.
That was what I was immediately concerned with, and that's done, so we would need to, make sure the agenda reflects that selection of a council member may occur at the
Right.
meeting following the interviews, but other than that, I
Yeah.
think we've got that
Same-
covered.
Same way that it did the last time.
Yes.
Because Pat can pull out the last year's agenda, and it actually had a listing, and then it had an opportunity for an appointment if the council so desired.
Right.
So we're saying our drop dead date, if nothing occurs, that 40th date, or 40th day would be,
Now, is that 40 days from the public hearing?
I thought it was vacancy.
40 days from the occurrence of the vacancy.
Okay.
And
Oh, is that-
throughout, just for the record, we've been considering the occurrence of the vacancy to
As
be the date
31st.
that we had the notice,
31st.
for purposes of the hearing and
No,
so
it's
on.
actually December 31st, he's using,
You want to clarify?
Right, well,
or you're using the second, because that's when.
Well,
we
I-
received the notice of the
I thought it was the
resignation
31st, too.
on the 2nd of January. And so,
It was not sent to me until the 2nd of January, even though it was dated effective, but January 2nd technically was a holiday, as was the 1st, so. but it
Yeah,
was
I
effective.
thought it was the 31st, but he clarified that the notice was the 2nd, so that I
Okay.
originally had the 9th and the 14th, and so if we went to the 16th, it'd be the 11th of February.
Well, we don't have meetings on weekends either.
Is that a weekend?
14th is,
No, the 14th would have been the 14th day from the 31st.
14th day, and then the 14th day is a Saturday. So we wouldn't have had a public hearing on a
Oh,
Saturday.
bring donuts. Okay.
You don't have
we
to
should,
pay-
we should,
don't
if we
pay your
can,
taxes
just
on
simply err on the side of caution and consider the 31st to be the drop dead date. But I was concerned that, the city,
I would say.
one way to interpret the ordinance, or the charter, excuse me, could have been to say, well, Councilmember Detterman provided notice on January 2nd of his resignation, and he essentially backdated it to the 31st. Well, if he'd waited till the 14th of January and said, I'm backdating this to December 31st, we would have had no time to hold the public hearing whatsoever under the charter. And I think that's probably not the interpretation the Supreme Court would give it if it ever looked at the issue. So, but out of an abundance of caution, I think we just for the purposes of the 40 days, since we have plenty of time to do so, let's just err on the side of caution and make sure the seat is filled, by 40 days from December 31. We can easily do that,
Yeah,
so.
that's not an issue. Okay, so so as the public has heard, we will take applications. They'll be available at the city clerk's office tomorrow. And
online?
she can email them out if someone wants to call and request that they're available electronically to be sent out. Okay?
can we state the public hearing is next Monday, the
Next Monday.
16th, 3 p.m.
You're
for
going to
all
be-
those to show up to talk about whether we'd like a special election
Yeah.
or to be
You can
appointed.
do that on a special meeting, because there's an actual,
He is
There's an
there.
actual agenda item for a public hearing, so we can read that public hearing, the actual wording of that public hearing, so everybody understands and there's no questions about what's going on.
Now, if an application's submitted, they don't have to attend the public hearing,
No,
correct? Okay.
no, you do not have to attend the public hearing to be an applicant.
Okay.
As I clarified that with Pat too, that just, if, you do not have to show up at a public hearing to be an applicant.
Right.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's move on to our legislative lobbyist and our 28E agreement. Dick, how are we doing with that?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, the 2080 agreement that you have before you was sent out to all of the coalition participants who indicated an interest in being a part of this. I have heard back from a number of them who have indicated that they intend to adopt this. And I believe I've also gotten that word from CRDC and from the Chamber of Commerce. So I think the only one that I don't know about the county yet, but when I met with them, they seemed to be pretty anxious to get moving on this.
Okay, so nobody's actually, well, I don't think anybody.
Nobody is withdrawn from it.
Okay, and nobody's had I don't know who's had a meeting yet to actually approve it. I know it didn't go to the supervisors on Monday.
No.
It was on DeWitt's agenda.
Was it?
Yes.
When is their meeting?
Good question. I read it in the paper the other day, though.
Well,
I
that's
think it was
not,
this week.
that's not very helpful.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I know it was, I do know it was, I think it was
It's
this
on
week,
their
though.
agenda?
Yeah,
Okay.
for this next meeting.
So I guess what we need to do so that we're ready to move is, if everybody has read over that 2080, you understand what we're trying to do with hiring a lobbyist, you've actually approved the $5,500, everyone else is in principle has approved it.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's also important to point out that Exhibit A attached to this 2080 is actually the contract with Advocacy Strategies, and this has been sent to them, and they have responded affirmatively that this is acceptable for them.
Okay. So my question would be, does anybody have any questions? And Councilmember O'Neill.
Thank you, Your Honor. You know, when this first came up, I'm just, as a general rule, I'm not a big proponent of lobbyists. I guess my thought process is, you know, we got two representatives, a senator and a legislator to look after what we want done. And, you know, they're pretty astute of, you know, coming back and coming to hearings and stuff. But you proposed this, and I gave it some thought, and I guess I'm not totally opposed to it. The one problem I did have with it is under Section 7. The distribution of the $15,000, the weight of it, you know, $5,500 is a lot of money, of the taxpayers' money, and when something is presented in the Senate or the House to get passed and it's beneficial to the city of Clinton, it's also beneficial to the other two cities. And then the other two entities, CRDC and the Chamber, you know, we also contribute heavily to them on a basis, and even in CRDC's 2020 vision, they have a specific amount that they've allocated to lobbyists to get things done, which they've done a good job in. So I don't have a problem with that. I guess I think it's a little heavy. The $5,500 is a little bit heavy of expenditure for us to carry that much load of it. You know, we've got 4 cities and 2 entities that are also in there. So I'd like to make an amendment to it to have that cost sharing split up with the county and the city at $3,500, and then the other 2 entities at $2,000. I think that's a little bit fairer split. You know, it is, regardless of where it's coming from, the $5,500 is the taxpayers' money. I haven't heard anything positive or negative about spending money on a lobbyist. So, again, you know, I think it's an all right 2080 agreement for a year or a couple of years, whatever we're going to do it for. Hopefully, we'll get some good response out of it and some good reaction out of it. But I would like to see that split made from $5,500 on our part to $3,500, the county to $3,500, and then the other 4 entities at 2,000, which would make still make it 15. So I'll make that as a motion for an amendment.
I second.
Okay, I will point out then that we'll have to stop the process we're working on and go back to each one of the entities and see if they're interested in even participating, because, you know, they've already approved this dollar amount, and what we were working on was the final contract. So it'll have to actually go back to each one of the councils to actually be voted on for a dollar amount change. So we're probably gonna wanna skip it for this year, because we're gonna be probably into February before we'll ever get this off the ground. Because the legislative session's already started. They've
Well-
already, out of courtesy, they've already started sending me some of the information of watching of what's going on.
Well, and I understand and I can appreciate that, but again, you know, this is the first glimpse we've got at it, and, you know, again, we're making a decision on spending taxpayers' money, and I think, you know, they can simply go back and either change it, or, I don't know what the big deal would be about, you know, $2,000 instead of $1,000. We're still picking up the load at 3,500 along with the county. So I don't have a problem with, you know, just getting an okay on it. And I don't want to, most certainly don't want to delay it, but I think we need the time to make amendments on things like this if someone looks at it and has an adjustment to make it. It's still $15,000, and I think it's a decent price for a lobbyist, and probably very reasonable. I'm just looking out for, you know, what portion we're spending of $5,500.
Dick, do you have any comment?
Well, Councilman O'Neill, I appreciate your comments, but remember when this was presented to you and I asked you for permission to go ahead and prepare a 28E, these amounts were initially laid out to you at that time. We haven't changed any of that from the initial proposal.
And when I went to command with Dick, this is what we presented to him, and, you know, because actually the feedback that we've had was that Clinton is the major benefactor, that there was some pushback of some of them not even wanting to participate, because the issues that we have for this year being our 30-day rule, the demo reserve, and the Highway 30, which is actually more of a county, but they're gonna follow 3 specific items for our group that they will actually lobby for, and then they'll keep us apprised of other items that they're going to work to try to get things passed. Those are all City of Clinton items, so there was pushback that, you know, why should other cities and organizations contribute for something that benefits Clinton only?
Well, Your Honor, with all due respect, Comanche and DeWitt are on Highway 30. I mean,
Well, I'm not
they're
talking
gonna
about Highway
benefit
30,
there, and
I'm talking
they'll
about the other 2 issues.
Right, but they'll
Basically-
benefit also from the increase in insurance that needs to be done for demolition, because, you know, DeWitt especially, you know, has faced some things, and Macokina has faced some challenges with that. And so, you know, I think it's beneficial, and I'm glad there wasn't, you know, unfortunately, there was maybe some pushback on it, but again, you know, the idea that, you know, we're carrying 5 times as much as anyone else, I have not had a chance to get a reaction, and again, it's a taxpayer expenditure, and, you know, I think $3,500 is a more than generous contribution to it, and it doesn't reduce the amount of money that we're asking the lobbyists to put in. It's just a matter of how it's split. And if the $1,000 is gonna get someone to walk away from it, then, you know, that's unfortunate, but I guess I have an obligation here to the dollars that we're spending out of Clinton.
Councilmember Allison?
Is this for a 1-year contract, Dick?
Yes.
I think since we've already gone through the process, we've got this involvement in it, if we could go the 1 year, re-examine what we think is the benefit of having a lobbyist, and then go back for the vote next year after we see if there's anything that we can derive from them, and then go back to these people who may be more than willing to commit more than the $1,000.
Or may not want to participate.
At
Right.
all.
They won't
Exactly.
drop out.
I think this is I'm not saying the exact contributions are, you know, what they should be, but it's I think it's neat that Clinton is working with the county and with other communities and other organizations. This is kind of the core of what we've been needing to do for a long time. So we can break it down. I think we've already committed to this, and I think changing it at this point wouldn't benefit anybody, but probably ruin the agreement, so.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Seeley's correct. This is kind of groundbreaking because in my research, I didn't find any other collaborative effort on the part of cities or organizations that attempted to do something like this. So preparing the 28E was an exercise in creativeness in itself. But I think the other thing to remember here is that this is going to be an unusual legislative session, and I think there are going to be a lot of issues that the city is going to really need to be aware of. I'm talking about 411, collective bargaining, property tax reform, that the legislature is already talking about doing. These are things that are going to impact the city a great deal, and I think it's really incumbent on us to be aware of what's coming up.
Well, in response, again, this is, Councilman Seeley, I respect your idea that we've already committed to it, but this is on the committee of the whole, and it's up for approval or disapproval to move on. And quite frankly, my position is that we're just a little bit heavy in the contribution, and so I don't have a problem with the idea. I don't have a problem with the urgency that it's a important legislative session. I just have a problem with how much money we're committing of taxpayers' money for something new.
I think we already passed a resolution approving the $5,500 contingent upon the other parties going ahead.
And I believe it was unanimous.
It was.
And not that I disagree with the negotiation amount, but I do feel that it's proper for us to we set that foot forward and we show our, our best to the other communities.
I won't go back to these organizations and say now that the council's backed out of the deal.
Yeah.
Because we went forward after, we approved ours first and then went and asked. And I don't know, I feel real uncomfortable.
I feel like we are, we're the largest community in this county. These other communities do rely on us to succeed, and it's in their best interest that we succeed because we're all taxpayers of this county as well. So we are working together like Councilman Seeley said, and I think the couple $1,000s that we may be trying to benefit off that, we may find that Comanche do it, just maybe can't afford it next year, and then we may need to readjust at the level we invest in it with the lobbyists. But I think that could be a discussion we could have, in the first session.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to add that kind of the entire scheme of the 2080 agreement. Dick gave me the marching orders to draft it and make it as close to what the vision of the parties were, and kind of even the voting scheme and everything is based off the ratio of those numbers to some degree. And so the way it's drafted does make sense as a holistic concept, and if we change that ratio, I think the whole concept kind of will look askew to the other parties to the agreement, especially after they probably agreed to those ratios and those numbers before.
I think I should probably, maybe the council's not aware of what went on in last year's legislative session. Last year, we made an attempt, and it was Chief Brown, Jessica, and myself, to go after the demo reserve, changing it from 10% to 20%. I tried to get the League of Cities on board with it. They don't consider it a big enough item, that there's not enough people of interest, that they're not interested in really pursuing it as one of their major legislative issues. We had a really good chance of it passing last year. Had we had a lobbyist, I bet that it would have passed, because it actually had been amended to a bill as an add-on. It was there. It went into committee for discussion. There was no one that showed up to discuss it, to support it, and it was dropped off. We found out, and Senator Hart was supposed to be following it for us. She notified us, I think it was 3 or 4 days afterwards, oh, there was a committee meeting that I didn't attend and it got dropped. So they have I know that the legislators do their best, but they can't follow everything. And it was like, had it been there, Mike Brown and I were waiting to go out to actually speak on it, but we didn't know that it had been tagged on to another bill, which they do a lot of times. They'll put bills onto the table. Had it been there, we could not get it back onto the bill. It was dead for the last year. So we lost that last year. And that was probably one of our best chances of getting it passed, because it actually got onto a bill. It was part of one. So I was very disappointed in that, and I was hoping this year that we can get the hotel motel tax through, because we have another turnaround coming up in 2 years in Lyondell.
19.
Yeah, so.
I mean, the sooner we get this into place, you know, Clinton County's day is on the 24th. As soon as those designees, you know, leave from Des Moines, we want somebody to, you know, backfill
Well,
those comments right
I'm
away.
not sure we'll actually have this done with all the organizations before Des Moines, because they're not a registered lobbyist yet for us, so I wish that they would be, so that they could help participate in our day as far as getting some things done. So, Councilmember McGraw, did you have something you want to say?
Well, the 5,500 is a very minute percent of our total budget. So,
Any other comments? Okay, so there's a motion to change the contributions to 35, 35, and 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, and 2,000. So, we'll have a roll call vote on that amendment, please.
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes.
Seeley?
No.
McGraw?
no.
Allison?
No.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Connell?
No.
Okay, that does not pass. So we're back to the original approval of the 28E agreement to move. Is there a motion to move the 28E agreement as it's written forward to the next council meeting for approval? Which means it actually won't be approved until after we come back from Des Moines Day.
I'll make the motion to approve it as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gassman?
No.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
O'Neill?
No.
Connell?
Yes.
Thank you. That does move forward. Now, we'll move on to our next item. Number 4 is a new liquor license for 2116 Harrison Drive, Bonnie's.
Yes, Your Honor. Per the council's directive, all new liquor licenses must be brought forward at the committee of the whole level. And although Bonnie's has been there for as long as I can remember,
When I read that, it's like, well, how is this a new liquor license?
the owner's son has chosen to take over the business, which makes us then have to treat it as a new liquor license.
Okay.
It has met all the criteria of the city and of the state. The entities have all reviewed it, and it has gotten the go-ahead from the fire department, police department, and building and neighborhood services. And so I would just suggest that if the council so, decides to move it forward.
I'll make a motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second to move the new liquor license forward. Any other discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember McGraw?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
Gassman?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 5, council meeting schedule for January. We've run into a conflict with our council meeting for January 24th. I'm reading the other 25th date. 24th is Des Moines Day. The odds of some of us that are going out to Des Moines Day of being back in time, I believe our city administrator is going with us, I believe Councilmember Allison is going, and myself, so I don't know if
I'll be
anybody, I don't know if anybody else is attending, but we'll virtually not have enough people back in time to have a meeting. So my proposal was, and it's on the special meeting, that's get a resolution to move forward, to change the day to Wednesday, January 25th at 7 p.m. Move it over one day. But we need to have that amended, because we also have run into another conflict, that we no longer need to have the committee of the whole budget workshop scheduled for 3 p.m. on January 26th. So that one can be canceled, but that was set by a resolution from the council, so we can actually do that as one resolution. So
Okay, so we just need a motion to,
we need a motion to move that resolution to our special council meeting that's coming up, but the resolution that's written in the packet is actually wrong. So if the motion would include to move it forward, also canceling the budget for January 26th. The committee of the whole budget, if you just say so moved, and it'll be taken.
so
care of.
moved.
Thank you. It'll be taken care of. I know Pat's got that all down, now I'll just have to hear a second.
Second.
Second. Okay. Now, out of all that, is there any questions? We're basically gonna move from Tuesday to Wednesday for our council meeting, and we do not need to have the January 26th budget meeting, so you can take a day off your calendar. Okay? So could we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, now we're down to the highlight of the meeting, the mayor council updates. Anybody have anything?
Radio show on Thursday, 10 o'clock, or 11 o'clock.
Okay, January 24th is Des Moines Day. We hope to have a big turnout. We hope to actually try to accomplish something out in Des Moines. And I want to announce that welcome to our community. I have to get my tongue fixed tonight. An opportunity for the city to come and meet Clinton's new city administrator, Matthew Brook, and his wife, I assume, will be there. Yes, sir. January 27th, 2017, from 6 to 8 at the Eagle Point Lodge. I would hope to see a big crowd. This will be what'll bring everybody. Refreshments will be served. I know that'll make sure people show up. And if we have nothing else, I will entertain. Oh, Dick?
Mr. Mayor, I think maybe the time has come for me to bid adieu.
No. No. You haven't got your 28E done.
I'm actually working on a number of special projects right now, and I'm really trying to stay out of Matt's hair and give him whatever advice I can, and I'm trying to clean up a few things that I think really need to be done and would be difficult for Matt to pick up at the same time he's trying to get everything else, in shipshape condition here. I'm looking at the 20th as my last day at this point.
Well, that will be subject to council approval.
Is of January?
Yeah. Of December. Of December. I like that too, yeah.
But,
We'll try to get warmer weather for you.
well, if it's okay with you, I mean, I don't know how to do this, but I'm trying to set a date, that I can work toward. But if I don't get everything done, I guess I'll have to stay here until I get it done.
Yeah, or you don't get your final paycheck.
That would be it. Can we work this out?
Yeah, we'll work, let's talk about that. We'll work this out.
Okay.
You'll find I'm a hard negotiator. Okay. If there's nothing else, I entertain a motion to adjourn, and don't take off, we do have a special council meeting immediately following our committee of the whole. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned, thank you very much. Now, we are going to get a new piece of paper started, and we're gonna move right into our special city council meeting for January 10th. I'm going to call that meeting to order, and Pat, whenever you're ready, if you begin with roll call.
Councilmember Gassman? Seeley?
Here.
McGraw?
Here.
Allison?
Here.
O'Neill?
Here.
Connell?
Here.
Thank you. We have two items in this under motions, resolutions, and ordinances. The first one is Councilmember McGraw, and I will remind everyone, this is the one that, as it's written for you, we've amended it over at the, you've got to have two different, Lynn, you have to have another, you have to have your special meeting, that one there. Flip
This
that.
one says amended.
Yeah, but
Oh,
there's
okay.
Your sheet.
your sheet, there's two different meetings, the resolutions attached to different ones.
Yeah, that's the right.
Okay.
I'll just remind everyone that the resolution got amended stating that the Committee of the Whole Budget Workshop scheduled for 3 p.m. January 26th is canceled, is part of this resolution, the one that I ultimately will sign. And so if you would like to make a motion to approve that,
Okay, I'm making, you want me to read it though?
no, you can read,
Oh, okay.
just read your front line.
All right, I have a resolution amending the date of the regularly scheduled January city council meeting. I move that the resolution be adopted as presented.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a
Second.
second. Any discussion on our changing of the dates? So everybody's clear. Okay, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
Gassman? Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Thank you. And now Councilmember Seeley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution. Just kidding. All right, sorry. Setting a public hearing regarding the existing city council vacancy and the process for filling said vacancy for the city of Clinton, Iowa. I move this resolution be adopted as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and would you like to read the therefore it be resolved part so everyone at home would know when it is?
Therefore, it be resolved that a public hearing shall be held at a specifically scheduled council meeting on Monday, January 16th, 2017 at 3 p.m. for the purpose of allowing any interested parties to make a public comment regarding the city council at-large vacancy and the process to fill the same.
Thank you. Any discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Allison,
Yes?
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Thank you. We have no unfinished business, so I will move to Councilmember Allison.
Your Honor, I move to adjourn to 7 p.m., January 25th, 2017, at 7 o'clock.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Connell,
Yes.
Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Boy.
I didn't see that.